So what are some of the things that you've noticed, particularly in the past 12 months since quarantine started and COVID, that have been problems that have come up in your practice that people are coming to you and a new surprise? Is there anything new about the problems that people are facing?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. Probably the most surprising kind of development would be at the beginning of all this, you might think or predict that anxiety would be the big sort of emotion and obstacle people would be struggling with, because it's, for a lot of people, it can be a really severe illness, and that it's just scary. It's a scary thing, right? But what I found is by far the bigger thing people are struggling with is grief, in the sense that a lot of people have just lost a lot as a result of the pandemic. So it could literally be like losing loved ones, right? People have died because of it. But more commonly, I think it's losing huge aspects of your life, right? So whether it's your weekly bowling league, where you hang out with all your buddies and socialize, or it's your gym. Some people are really for a lot of layers, they're attached to their gym, or family, not getting to go visit family who lives far away. And so I think that has been something that has surprised me, and I think caught a lot of people off guard, is that the thing that's hardest is this kind of people are just sad. It's just really sad and disappointing that these huge chunks of our lives have been sort of taken away, and trying to figure out how to deal with that. And then on top, what makes that even harder is a lot of the things that we've lost, hopefully temporarily, as a result of the virus and lockdowns and all that kind of stuff, is people have lost coping mechanisms, right? So for a lot of people, for instance, who struggle with kind of mild or moderate anxiety or depression, exercise is one of their big coping mechanisms, it just really helps them, right? And for a lot of people, it's social exercise in particular, whether it's CrossFit or a Zumba class or yoga or whatever, and they just haven't been able to do that. And so a lot of these, kind of latent issues that a lot of people might have, again, whether it's something like anxiety or loneliness, depression, whatever it might be, they're just a lot harder to deal with because we've sort of been stripped of a lot of or even it's just talking to a good friend, we just can't do that as much as we used to. And so everything gets harder because in a way we sort of took for granted all these parts of our lives that, in addition to all the other things they were doing, they were kind of coping mechanisms for our own sort of a lot of our struggles and difficulties.
So if you have someone who is feeling down or feeling the lack of separation for someone, what are you telling them to do? What are the practices that you're recommending? I mean, it's pretty hard to think about someone who lost a loved one or just can't see a friend anymore. Like what are you telling them? What are you recommending? What are you saying to them?
Yeah, so there's kind of a couple levels here. I think there's basically two levels to think about this problem. One is you can look for quick or immediate substitutes. So I don't know, if you can't do your hot yoga class at the gym anymore, and that was a major source of not only exercise but socializing and connection in your life. Maybe you kind of organize a yoga class in the park, and you step up, and even though it's not really your personality, that's something you have to kind of do if you want to get kind of compensate for that loss. So I think that's a big part of it, is creativity, actually, and the confidence to kind of go outside of your comfort zone. Again, a lot of it is stuff there were things in our lives that were basically organized for us, you were, again, you're in a bowling league, or you're in this hot yoga class, or whatever it is, things that you could just sort of fall into. And what a lot of the work I've ended up doing is helping people to become confident enough and creative enough to become more proactive in areas where they weren't used to being proactive, and to really initiate things and kind of be creators, really having to create new aspects to their life, which is, it's a pretty wild thing. It's surprising how we kind of get in our lanes in life, and we get kind of comfortable doing certain things. So it's my hope that I think that in the long term, there will actually be a big silver lining here, and this will be a really useful and kind of empowering thing for people to look back on and say, yeah, I really learned how to become a lot more assertive, interpersonally, because I need these like relationships in my life. And previously they just sort of fell into my lap, but like I have to go out and get them now. And that's, if you can actually build that skill, like that's huge. That's going to benefit you for years, for the rest of your life, probably.
So what were the 2 layers there? You said there were 2 layers.
Yeah, sorry. I got so excited, just ran
You're
off
good.
of the second one. The first one is just sort of basic coping, right? So everyone, if all of a sudden, like you can't hang out with your best friend anymore like you used to, and that was a major source of good, like you gotta like figure out ways to just kind of like put the Band-Aid on and deal with that. Like you start calling them more often, or figure out other people you can spend more time. Kind of like triage, like putting the Band-Aid on things, like stop the bleeding, like that's a big part of it. And honestly, a lot of that is just what a shrink will call validation. So someone comes in, they say like, yeah, I'm just really struggling with, I just get really lonely. And I know I shouldn't, because like I've got all these people who love me and I've got all these things I should be doing. And like, so I don't know what I need to do. And I just kind of go, whoa. Why wouldn't you be feeling super lonely? It makes total sense that you would be feeling really lonely right now. And that sucks. Like it's painful to feel lonely, right? But it's okay that you're feeling lonely right now. It makes sense given what's going on. And so that's that skill of validation, of telling people and helping them see, just because you're suffering, just because something hurts, doesn't mean it's bad or that you're bad, right? And it seems simple, but a lot of people don't have a lot of experiences in their life where they get that. A lot of people in their life who are good at doing that. And so that's one really important kind of service I try to sort of offer people.
Do you think we've become almost, we expect it always to be good? And this situation in 2020 for the first time was the first time in a lot of people's lives where it was bad and it was suffering, and we almost expected it to be good forever. Do you see that playing a part at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's this kind of unintended consequence of a lot of different fields, whether it's sort of like psychiatry and the medical side of mental health, or the behavioral side, like therapy and counseling, or even sort of like the whole self-improvement, self-help world. I don't think anyone's doing this on purpose, but one of the implicit messages people are learning is that you've got all these great ideas and services like therapy and medication and all these great self-help programs and frameworks and life hacks. And like the implication is you ought to feel awesome all the time if you're just doing the right stuff, right? Yep. If you're just like doing your mindfulness every day and exercising every day and like watching really inspiring YouTube videos and like on all the right medications, and like, you'll be good, right? You should just be super good. And then it turns out when you're not only do you feel bad, you feel bad about feeling bad.
Yep.
And that is the real problem. Feeling bad isn't a problem. Everybody feels bad sometimes, especially when majorly bad stuff happens, like a global pandemic. Why wouldn't you start to feel lonely? Why wouldn't you be upset and frustrated? Why wouldn't you be kind of depressed or kind of anxious? Of course you are. The subtle problem is that people assume because I'm feeling bad, there's something wrong with me. I'm not doing something right? And this is, I've never seen any research that actually backs this up quantitatively, but it's my clinical experience that the way painful emotions work is they're not additive, they're multiplicative. So if you feel lonely and then you feel guilty for feeling lonely, 10 units of loneliness plus 10 units of guilt does not equal 20 units of feeling bad. It's 100 units of feeling bad. When you combine painful emotions, they just explode. So, which is why it's so important that you are able to stop with that first layer and say, you know what? I don't like feeling lonely or anxious, but it's okay. Like, it makes sense, even though it feels bad, and I would prefer not to feel this way. There's nothing wrong with me because I'm feeling like this. If you can avoid adding that second layer of difficult emotion, it's remarkable actually how well you can weather pretty substantial difficulties. But it's just so ingrained in us that it's back to this thing of we feel bad about feeling bad. And that's like one of my core jobs, I think, both as a therapist, but even in my own writing, is to help people try and understand that distinction.